All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2015 version of the IHSA Football Playoff Pairing Show. Of course, taking a strong look at Wilmington and Class 3A. And I know we're a couple of minutes late here. We had a borderline catastrophe on our hands with trying to get this broadcast on the air, but we do have it up and running at the moment. I do believe. I hope so. And if not, I'm going to have to be doing some more emergency stuff here, but I think we are up and running at the moment. They do have 1A pairings coming out. We will get to those in just a moment here, and then we'll, of course, move up through the night. John, along with Jeff and Dennis, the same group that join you each and every year out here from Terry's, and we're getting set for Wilmington and who they're going to face in the 3A playoffs. Of course, a big win last night against Manteno gets Wilmington to a 9-0 record, and what should be a pretty good seeding come tonight. And really, it depends on didn't they say where St. Joseph Ogden ends up? If St. Joseph Ogden comes north, then Wilmington would get a 2 seed, I think was the rumor I was hearing.
Right. It all depends on where the state of Illinois draws the line at. And we've seen it, or the IHSA, that is, where they draw the line through the state of Illinois. We've seen it through the years when they had brackets and quads, them using some weird geography to draw lines through the state. So we'll just have to see what they come up with tonight.
All right. We're still working on some emergency stuff here to make sure that this stream is actually working. Dennis, if you want to pull it up on your site over there and see if you have anything. And
like Terry is too.
And if he doesn't have anything, then we're not broadcasting to anyone.
We're talking to ourselves again.
So we'll keep it going for the moment here until we get it figured out. It does say we have somebody logged on, so hopefully it's you, Dennis.
It's me right now, probably.
It keeps popping off 1 to 0, so hopefully. All right, there we go. All right, so we're good to go. They're running through the Class 1A pairings as we speak, and we'll give those to you more in their entirety when they actually get through them on TV here, because Dennis, I think, can pull them up and we'll roll through them here in a moment. And probably all can do it on our laptops and figure it out, provided that the IHSA website doesn't crash, which is like a yearly occurrance.
They got a lot of stuff shut off on this. Did you notice that?
Oh, I didn't look too much.
You haven't looked? Yeah, they turned a lot of stuff off on their on their main page.
All right, so I have the brackets, or not the brackets, but the first round for Class 1A for all of us who care about Class 1A.
Yeah, let's go. Let's see what we got.
So in the first round, game 1, we have 16 seed Tremont against number 1 seed Toulon Stark County. We have game number 2 is number 9 Forreston at number 8 Dakota. We have number 13 seed Elgin Westminster Christian at number 4 Polo. Number 12 Warren Co-op against at number 5 Chicago Hope Academy. Number 15 Hebron, which had a win today to get them in. I know Jeff was worried about them earlier today. But anyway, number 15 Hebron against number 2 Ottawa Marquette. Number 10 Stockton at number 7 Galena. Number 14 Princeville at number 3 Lena Winslow. Number 11 Chicago Douglas at number 6 Orion. And in the, I guess would be considered the south part of that bracket, would be number 16 Camp Point Central at number 1 Tuscola. Number 9 Leroy at number 8 Greenfield. And number 13 Bridgeport at number 4 Carleton. Number 12 Decatur Lutheran at number 5 Pawnee. Number 15 Mount Olive at number 2 Gibson City. Number 10 Winchester at number 7 Decatur St. Teresa. Number 14 Hardin at number 3 Arcola. And to finish up that bracket, it's number 11 Catlin Salt Fork at number 6 Mount Sterling.
All right, and just taking a look through 1A here, some interesting things kind of going back the last few years. I know Galena made a nice run over the last couple of years, and they have a 7 seed. Some other things in there, I wasn't even aware that Westminster Christian even had a football team, for that matter. So I'm kind of surprised to see them in here as a 13 seed. And then you get some of those smaller towns down south like Arcola.
Tuscola,
And some of those smaller towns from around the state, and kind of interesting. And then you get, of course, some of those small schools from the city too, Chicago Hope Academy, and kind of an interesting bracket in 1A. I know Gibson City has been in there for years as a playoff team. Ottawa Marquette is really the one lone kind of local team, and it seems like every year they too end up with a playoff seeding of some sort. There's the actual paper version of that bracket.
Yeah, and I know this year things are a little bit different in the way the multiplier works as well. You do not, private schools or open boundary schools are not getting the multiplier applied to them if they haven't won a playoff game.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about that too. They kind of modified it a little bit.
Right.
If they're not some sort of powerhouse or, have had a history of...
Right, if you're not a JCA Montini type school that are winning every year, they're giving these other schools a chance. And I think Ottawa Marquette is one of those schools that probably would have been a 3A school, but since they haven't really had too much success, they've dropped down to 1A.
They'll be multiplied next year, probably. Well, now on the other side of that coin too is the schools that have won, what is it, 2 or more? They bump them up a class.
Yeah, after it's a success factor is what it is.
Success factor.
And so after they win a couple, if they win 2 state championships in a row, they get bumped up. It is. There is. I could probably look it up here and find it for sure.
I probably have a go.
And out of all these, I think our panel is probably least experienced with referring to a lot of 1A schools, although, like I said, Galena made a nice run. I want to say they were in the semifinals, either quarterfinals or semifinals within the last year or two. And they're back in, although kind of middle of the pack this year. And it's kind of strange, too, because you're used to seeing, like you said, Dennis, you're seeing some of these schools as a bigger kind of school, 2A, 3A, and now it's kind of weird to see them down in 1A. And of course, across the state, we've had, especially private school wise, the enrollment numbers have changed fairly drastically. I mean, you look at Bishop McNamara, who's has always not really, they've been 4A, maybe borderline 5A at times, but they're solidly, I shouldn't say solidly, but they're more toward the 3A end. And I know a lot of these other private schools have kind of dropped a little bit in overall enrollment. And people go, well, how can they possibly be in our bracket, whether it's, 3A, 4A, 5A? It's because the enrollment numbers have dropped across the board, private school wise. So that really affects kind of how all the brackets work. And the state as a whole, then the IHSA has to come up with some way to kind of then even it out in their mind as those enrollments kind of drop.
Right, because you're going to see, I believe you're going to see, we've seen some projections on, you get these people like Mr. Dillon over here who like to sit there and prognosticate and look into their crystal football and figure out who's where. But from what it looks like, Bishop Mac is going to be 3A this year. Last year they were a borderline 4A team. Looks like they're dropped down to a 3A team. So, and they're going to be in the North bracket from what all the prognosticators are saying. So with that being, Bishop Mac could see some success down at 3A. They've had some really good competition. I know they played Plainfield North, I think, this year.
They beat Providence this year.
Yeah, and they beat Providence. Yeah, everybody beat Providence.
Yeah. I mean, but still, anytime you get a win of that magnitude, even if it's a down year, it's still a pretty big win. But yeah, Bishop McNamara, it's really hard to tell. I mean, it's like Mantino. You look at Mantino all year and you try to gauge, all right, where are they really at? And then you see them play Wilmington on Friday and you go, okay, well, we're right there with one of it should be upper level team in 4A. So you feel like if you can hang there and do some good things there, that there shouldn't be anything in 3A that you should really be terrified about. I mean, there's a few teams, though, that if they drop, Chicago Phillips and some of those that end up there, then whew.
I believe last week's playoff pairing prediction that IHSA released had Phillips going 3A. And, I mean, yeah, that would be one of those. You know what? It comes down to you got to play the game.
Yep.
And Phillips last year, I mean, you remember last year, Phillips is going to kill everybody there. And they did for the most part as they went through until they got to the state finals and they hit Rochester. Rochester beat them by a couple touchdowns. And so it's just, you got to play them all. And you see these teams, and until you play them, you don't know how good you are. That's what it comes down to. You got to beat the best to be the best.
Well, we've got 1A pairings in the book. We're waiting on 2A now. 3A is supposed to be out around 8:30. So we'll get to the I-8 portion of all this around 8:30. And then I'm guessing like 8:45 or 8:42 or something like that. We'll get 4A. And 4A will be the vast majority of the I-8 teams that will make the playoffs this year. So it'll be interesting to see where that is. Although Lyle is into 3A this year and could be a problem for a few teams. I mean, they just beat Plano by a couple of touchdowns last night.
Lyle has gotten a lot better. I mean, for a team that started out the season, I think a little rocky. I think they had lost to Piatone, if I remember right. And they come together. I mean, they're what every coach wants from a football team.
Yeah.
You know, we start out, maybe we're, a little, slow, we just we become cohesive and we work together and, they're being coached. That's what it comes down to.
Well, I mean, even the loss to Piatone though, Piatone is a 3-6 team this year. It's kind of weird to say you're a good 3-6 team, but they came very close to beating a number of quality teams, including Wilmington, who had to go down to the wire in the fourth quarter to get a win there. So, especially early in the year,
here comes 2A.
It's a little bit different. So 2A, 1 seed goes to Tri-Valley. We'll get you the whole group of this in a little bit. Rockridge, by the way, we've seen them in the past. They're a 9 seed this year, going up against Rushville. We've got a few other teams here. Just trying to scan through the brackets as they show up on the screen and give you maybe some teams that we know a little bit about. Rockford Christian Life ends up getting in at 5-4 at a 15 seed. So kind of interesting to see how those 5 and 4 teams kind of fit in or fall off as it goes here tonight. Moments gets in at 5-4 to take on Bismarck Henning. Spring Valley Hall back in the playoffs this year at 7-2
in 2A.
In 2A, yeah.
There's another one. Enrollment's down.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way things have shifted a little bit. Payne with a number 1 seed in the south part of the 2A bracket, and for most part here, there's a lot of teams that most of us aren't going to know a whole lot about. And like we said, when we get the whole pairings on paper here, we'll go through each and every game and get you the full breakdown.
Because you look at Villa Grove there, they were 8-10. 8-10 for the season. So there's little typos there. But I will say this, I went back and I looked at the 1A map, and it's pretty north-south. There's 2 teams, number 9 seed and a 5 seed, but the 9 seed is just a little bit further south. So they did draw almost a straight line across the state. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same for 2A or not, but here's some more 2A bracket.
Well, you got an interesting El Dorado at 9-0 in the south too. So a couple of 9-0 teams at 1 and 2 seeds there in the south, and 7-2 matchup with Westville and Maroa Forsyth. That's a 7-10 seed game. And didn't they just have Nashville in the north part of the 2A bracket?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure they just showed Nashville in the north part, and then they showed them in the south portion of the bracket at the same time.
No,
at least on the at least on TV they did.
Now I look at the 2A bracket, and it's a little bit more messier, or the 2A map, and it's a little more messier. I'll show my laptop to John. That's a big chunk of schools in the middle of the state there.
Yep. Okay, so 2A, I'll get you what I have at this point here. We'll go down through the matchups. Downs Tri-Valley at 9-0 gets a 1 seed going up against number 16 Savannah West Carroll. They're at 5-4. Let's see. The 8-9 game is Rushville Industry at 7-2 going up against Taylor Ridge Rockridge, a team that Wilmington has seen in the past at 6-3 and now a 2A playoff team. The number 4 seed is Mackinac Deer Creek at 7-2. They will go up against the 13 seed Hamilton West Hancock Co-op. They are at 6-3. The number 5 seed is Mendon Unity at 7-2. They will go up against El Paso Gridley, who's 6-3 and gets a 12 seed. As we mentioned, Rockford Christian Life, a 15 seed, and at 5-4, we'll get Kewanee Weathersfield, who is a 2 seed and 8-1 on the year. Number 7, Minonk Fieldcrest at 7-2 this year will take on number 10, Knoxville at 6-3. Game number, let's see, Bismarck. We got a 3-14 seed here. Bismarck Henning at 8-1, and the 3 seed will get 5-4 Moments, who gets a 14 seed. And as we mentioned, Spring Valley Hall back in the playoffs with a 6 seed. They are 7-2. And Monmouth United at 6-3 will take on Spring Valley Hall. They are now an 11 seed. And the number 1 seed in the South is Pana High School at 9-0. They will take on Georgetown or Georgetown Ridge Farm at 5-4. They are a 16 seed. Number 8, Chester at 7-2 will take on number 9, Lawrenceville, also at 7-2. And I think I'm missing a portion of this. I'm missing the rest of the southern part of the 2A bracket.
What games you leave off?
Chester and Lawrenceville is where I left off.
That was game 10, I believe. Yeah.
Yes,
game 11 is number 4, Villa Grove, playing Johnson City, a number 13 seed. That's at Villa Grove. And game number 12 is number 5, Shelbyville, hosting number 12, Auburn. There's a familiar name. Game 13, number 2, El Dorado's a 9-0, is hosting number 15 seed Athens Co-op. Game number 14, number 7, Mora Forsyth is 7-2 record, hosting number 10 Westville is also 7-2. And that's see, game 15, number 3, Niantic Sangamon Valley Co-op, number 3 seed, 8-1, hosting Cerro Gordo.
Wow.
Is that how you say?
Yeah, I guess it's Cerro Gordo.
Yeah. Is that how you pronounce that? They're a number 14 seed. And the last game, game 16 in 2A, is number 6, New Berlin Co-op. They're 7-2, and they're hosting number 11, Nashville, at 6-3.
Just first glance at 2A. Yeah, there we go. The first glance at 2A here, a couple of teams that kind of jump out at you because they're in the playoffs on a regular basis. Monroe Forsyth getting a 7 seed in that south portion. Of course, Spring Valley Hall, who for years was a 3A playoff team, is now down to 2A, but they are back in the playoffs this year. Of course, Bismarck Henning and Moments, those two teams tend to be in the playoffs more times than not. And of course, Taylor Ridge Rock Ridge, a team that we saw in the past in 3A, is now down in 2A this year. And an interesting place to go watch a game, by the way. Rock Ridge.
They have a nice stadium.
They really
nice.
do. I was very impressed. And it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, too. It's like, oh, look, there's a football stadium in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah, it's a really nice stadium. We need to talk our school board into building us something like that.
Yeah.
Like that press box. 6 stories of press box.
With an elevator.
Yeah, right. So 1A and 2A are out. For the most part, 3A and on up is where we're going to know most of the teams here.
You know, I know something we also haven't talked about is that, they eliminated quads. And all
yes,
that.
We didn't talk about that.
It's 1 through 16, north-south. That's it. There's no more travel. Travel, like if this team has to travel more than this many times, it's done.
Yeah, and then do the 1-8. No.
1A through 6A are all they're 1 through 16, 1 through 16. Now I believe it's 7 and 8A is 1 through 32 because most of all that's located up in Chicago. You get your St. Louis, and maybe is there a Springfield? I don't know if there's a Springfield team in that or not.
Yeah,
or if they're lower than that, But yeah, so mostly everybody's up north, so that's why they're 1 through 32. But so it's just offers a little bit better, so you don't have. I mean, back then, you get a 1 through 8. You could be a 9-0 team playing an 8 and.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't really a true seeding.
Yeah, it wasn't a true seeding. So this one will give you an opportunity to maybe give those teams a little bit more of a chance to get through the playoffs, get through some injuries. Stuff like that.
Well, I think across the board, everyone is happy about the fact that it's 1 through 16 and just going with that. I mean, you can live with splitting it into north and south and kind of doing that.
They just said Wilmington has the number 1 seed in 3A.
Down at the bottom?
I'll take it. Yeah, they announced Wilmington. Was it Wilmington, Princeton, St. Joseph Ogden, and somebody else they announced as like the unbeatens or something.
Princeton was unbeaten.
So yeah, they have announced that Wilmington is a 1 seed. So that's very interesting, and we'll see here in very short order who Wilmington will actually get.
It'll be real interesting to see who they how they rearranged or how they finagled the schools across up and down through the state, and where the line's going to be, to make that happen.
There's a big cluster of 3A schools in the Champaign area. Yeah, you get it. So we'll see how they, where is the St. Joe Ogdens and the, help me, what's the other team? Tolono. Where are those going to go? Are they going to go north? Are they going to go south? Last year they were up north, or at least St. Joe was up north, and so we seen them in the quarterfinals last year. So it's just it's always, it's part of the. I hate to say it. They say it's not luck, but it is. It's the luck of the draw.
Yeah. And it really helps a lot, of course, the higher seed that you get. But as a number 1 overall seed, it at least appears like Wilmington would have gotten the best of however they drew things up this year.
Yeah, we'll see.
But who knows? Yeah,
we don't know.
You never know.
We're at the mercy of IHSA and how they want to do it.
Yeah, because there's a point where some of the seeding, if they're tied, like they have all these tiebreakers. There's probably 10 different tiebreakers. They go where your opponents wins, and then your opponents wins against Europe, the similar opponents, and then it just keeps breaking down from there. And then there's a point where they go, you know what? There's nothing more we can do than flip a coin.
Yeah.
And that can determine some seeding in some of the brackets.
Well, we've got 1A and 2A brackets out, and we've gone through those already. 3A is set to come out here in mere moments, about 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll get the 3A brackets out. We've already learned that Wilmington is the number 1 seed, so we at least know that much to this point. Now we're just waiting to see who Wilmington actually gets, and then as the night goes on, 4A will get to see kind of where the rest of the 3A teams shake out, although we will see Lisle in 3A with Wilmington. And then as we go up to 5A, 6A, you get some other area schools from Joliet and all that will fall into those as well. So from here on out, we should get a lot of teams that we are very familiar with and see where they're going to be come playoff time here. And it looks like we are just about ready to get 3A. I'm going to do a little bit of a preview here, and then we'll get actual 3A pairings up. And here we go. Wilmington gets Peoria Heights. Wilmington at 9-0. A number 1 seed will get 16. Peoria Heights at 5-4. There's Lisle right below them. Lisle at 7-2, and a 9 seed gets number 8 Byron at 7-2.
They have to go to Byron, it looks like, right?
Yeah. Because Byron is the higher seed. Sterling Newman will take on Farmington. Again, we'll give you the whole breakdown in a moment. Bishop Mack is right there with Wilmington's group, and they will take on Mercer County. Then we get Princeton and Mid-County. That's a 2-15 matchup. Also, Chicago Raby at 7-2, taking on Chicago Clark at 6-3. Boy, this north half is going to be really interesting. There's Immaculate Conception at 8-1. They'll get Winnebago at 5-4. Let's see what else we get here. There's one more matchup in this north half.
So and they cut away.
We get a still picture of something going on somewhere in Elmhurst. Okay,
I see.
So I see. Yeah. Elmwood Brimfield will get DePaul. That's a 6-11 matchup. So that is the north half. Now we get the south half, and that's where we thought St. Joseph Ogden either goes north or south. They go south, and they get Fairfield. That can't be right, can it? Fairfield at 9-0. That's got to be wrong. Carlinville will get Roxana. Paxton, Buckley, Loda. It's Williamsville. Williamsville at 5-4 this year. Bloomington Central Catholic will go up against DuQuoin.
Fairfield, I think, is a 5-4 team.
I was going to say,
that can't be right. North Mac and Pleasant Plains, it's 2-15 matchup. Then Marshall gets Tolono Unity, that's 7-10. And we get a couple more here. Newton will get Sullivan Okaw Valley. Newton at 9-0, getting a 3 seed. And then Monticello at 8-1 will get Westland.
Yeah, Fairfield's 5-4. They just posted the webpage.
Yeah, it looks like the map's pretty north-south. Just right above Bloomington is the north line. So
well, I'm telling you,
else. Straight north.
If Wilmington's going to get there, they're going to have work cut out for them because let's say Wilmington gets past first round. I don't know one thing about Peoria Heights. I have no idea. But should Wilmington survive round one, then things get very interesting because they would get the winner of Byron and Lisle. The one positive to that whole thing is if Byron were to upset Lisle, then Wilmington would get a second round matchup, correct? Because Byron's already hosting, so you don't have to make that ridiculous trip to
Byron would come to
Byron.
us.
to Byron.
Yeah.
It's either that or go to Lisle.
Yeah.
And that's always an interesting. But in any case, if they get past then Lisle, then you would get either, well, more than likely, Sterling Newman Central Catholic or Bishop McNamara, and either one of those isn't exactly a walk in the park either.
Right. That's a pretty good second round game right there.
So
Sterling Newman, Bishop Mac.
Yeah.
And that's over. That would be at Sterling.
Boy, that's a tough. That little portion of the bracket right there. Yeah. That's a pretty tough bracket.
Yeah.
Peoria Heights, interesting. Their last win was a forfeit.
Yeah, I saw that.
Their last win to
get their fifth win.
To get their fifth win was a forfeit. Yeah. Last year's record for them where they were 0-9. This year they had wins against Cambridge, Ridgewood Co-op. It looks like maybe, I don't know where the cutoff is, but it's 262 enrollment. They won 40-34. They had a loss in week 2 against Princeville, 6-27. Princeville is 5-4. The win against Cambridge was 2-7 on the year. In week 3, they lost to Rushville, 21-35, who finished 7-2 on the year. In week 4, they won 26-8 against Astoria, who's a 4-5 team. In week 5, they beat Lewistown 41-33, who's a 4-5 team. They lost to, I'm going to say, Abingdon, whatever.
Oh, Abingdon.
Yeah, okay. They lost 27-30. Who's a 3-6 team.
Oh boy.
They beat Cuba. 41-20.
The whole country?
Yeah, the whole country. North Fulton Co-op, but they're Cuba. And then they lost to Farmington 40-49, who's a 5-4 team. But most of these teams are playing. I mean, they have one.
Did they play anybody that won more than 5 games?
They have 2 teams that are over enrollments of 300. Those 2 teams has an enrollment of 354. They lost to that team, and they lost to the other Farmington, who has an enrollment of 411. All the rest of the teams have enrollments in the 200s. And the forfeit was against Varna, who was 0-9, who ended up 0-9. I don't know if they played any games all year, but they had 0-9. But
well, that's interesting.
They forfeited their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. They lost their first team.
Oh boy!
I know we got off track.
I know where this is going.
0-60, 0-61, 0-48. They got close on this one, 0-24. But then after that, they forfeited the rest of their games.
Okay, so Terry's printing off everything for us. They played one team that won more than 5 games, and that was Rushville at 7-2, and they played 1, 2, 4 teams with a winning record. It doesn't appear like it's the strongest schedule in the world, but you never know. So
there is a link. Let's see if there's anything there. There's a link to Max Preps for stats.
All right, so
I don't think there's anything there, Dennis. I checked earlier.
For
Peoria Heights, you're looking? Yeah.
I'll run down these one more time for 3A just to make sure we got them all covered. Wilmington gets a 1 seed up north to take on 16 Peoria Heights. Byron, an 8 seed, gets number 9 Lisle. The winner of that game will get the winner of the Wilmington Peoria Heights game. Number 4 seed Sterling Newman Central Catholic will get number 13 Farmington. Number 5 Bishop McNamara out of Kankakee will get number 12 Aledo Mercer County. Number 2 Princeton will get number 15 Oneida or Mid-County Co-op. Number 7 Chicago Raby gets number 10 Chicago Clark. Number 3, Elmhurst Immaculate Conception Catholic will get Winnebago. Number 6, Elmwood Brimfield gets number 11, DePaul College Prep. That's all the teams in the north half section. So that's the north only. That would be Wilmington's run to the state championship, should they manage to get there. In the south half, number 1, St. Joseph Ogden gets number 16, Fairfield. Number 8, Carlinville gets number 9, Roxana. Number 4, Paxton Buckley Loda takes on number 13, Williamsville. Of course, you're very familiar with that team. Number 5, Bloomington Central Catholic will get number 12, DuQuoin. Number 2, Verdon North Mac gets number 15, Pleasant Plains. Marshall on number 7 seed will go up against Tolono Unity. That's a 10 seed. Number 3, Newton will go up against number 14, Sullivan Okaw Valley. And number 6, Monticello will play number 11, Trenton. That's the south half of that whole bracket. Kind of interesting. There are, I believe, 3 9-0 teams in the south and 2 9-0 teams in the north, and a couple of teams in the south that Wilmington's familiar with, and of course Williamsville and Monticello. In that southern half. Yeah, and so St. Joe too.
We played Paxton a couple times, I believe. I don't know. Have we played Bloomington Central Catholic? Was it a long time ago?
Maybe once. It was a long time ago.
So Peoria Heights is 1-4 in the playoffs overall. I think they've made 5 appearances in the playoffs, and the last time was 2003. Wow. So 1 consecutive trip to the playoffs, and they've been 5 times, and they're 1-4 in the playoffs overall, and Peoria Heights hasn't even been in the playoffs since 2003. Yeah. So they're going to be excited just to be there. Boy, that's the first time in a long time for a school to go in the playoffs.
Right, and then you go and you're going against your first round opponent has been in the playoffs 20 consecutive times.
And, by the way, is the defending state champion.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And also undefeated. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But, congratulations to them on getting in for the first time in over a decade.
That's the hard part, right? Getting in. Once you get in, you never know what's going to happen. I mean,
it's true.
Look, 2 weeks ago, we were playing Piazzone, and that game wasn't decided till the end. Here we got 4A coming up right now.
All right, so 4A, Phillips is a 1 seed. That's not a big surprise. Getting Genoa Kingston. Pontiac in there as an 8 seed. Gets number 9, Johnsburg. Number 4, Geneseo will go up against 13, Wheaton Academy. Mantino, they get a 5 seed. Boy, that's
there you
tough.
Go.
A 12, Herscher.
Yeah.
It's Mantino Herscher in round 1.
Round 1.
Marengo gets a 2 seed. They will go up against Coal City, who gets a 15. Number 7, Plano will get Ridgewood, who's a 10 seed. Plano on hard times last few weeks. Rockford Lutheran gets a 3 seed at 9-0. They will get 6-3 Dixon, 14 seed. Number 6, Richmond Burton will get 11. Elgin St. Edward. Good grief. Now that's a loaded north half of a bracket. South half, number 1, Belleville Altoff gets 16. Clinton. Number 8, Harrisburg will get number 9. Quincy Notre Dame. Number 4, Rochester will play 13. Alton Marquette. Murfreesboro will get a 5 seed. They will go up against number 12, Carterville. Number 2, Columbia will play number 15, Breeze Central. Number 7, Civic Memorial. I have no idea who that is. Takes on number 10, Breeze Mater Dei. Number 3, Taylorville will play 14, Mount Zion. And number 6, Heron will get number 11, Richland County. Well, that north half is real interesting.
I will go for your semifinal matchup will be Rockford Lutheran against Chicago Phillips.
Well, I would think that's a
no.
If you were going to have a guess,
Mantino, they were really good last night, and I mean, the weather, I think that really affected their game, being a passing team, but it didn't affect it too much. I mean, they were scoring every 2 minutes. So,
and he was throwing 50-yard bombs.
He's a junior, right?
Yeah, he's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
We don't play them next year, right?
I don't think so.
But man, can that kid wing the football? Coal City, they get into the playoffs, and then, oh, hey, good luck, you get Marengo.
You got to
it looks
go to
like
Marengo.
They're
Got to
running
go
the
there.
spread too, so they're showing their quarterback just carving up whatever defense they're playing right now.
Okay, so Chicago Phillips, who I think everyone will say is the overall favorite to win that thing.
Well, I don't know
I don't know.
necessarily.
Well, in
That's
the North
true.
bracket,
That,
but
in the North
yeah.
bracket, well, that Rockford Lutheran's got the.
Yeah, Rockford Lutheran is.
They've got the one kid who's got 2,200 yards. By the way, Rockford Lutheran played Dixon third game of the season and beat them 95-28. So,
But look at that. That breakdown is real interesting. I mean, it's almost exactly north-south. I mean, there's nothing in the middle of the state almost. That's very interesting. Yeah, we've got an I-8 matchup in round one between Herscher and Mantino. That could be pretty bad for Herscher. They managed to draw Mantino right off the top. Coal City, as we mentioned, they get in and take on Marengo. Plano in as well. They're getting Norridge out of Ridgewood. Plano is tough to figure out what's going on there. Through the first half or 2/3 of the year, it looked like they were. I mean, they lost that one game, but it looked like they were on fire and they were going to go in the playoffs, blazing. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of.
They lost to Mantino, and then they play Coal City, and they put 40 or 50 up on Coal City like it was nothing. Like, okay, we're making this is our statement game, and then after that, they just
they went over to Piatone, and they were tied in the fourth. I think
quarter,
it was like 0-0 in the second half of that game, and then
Piatone's done that to
right. Well,
a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, they've come close to a lot of people, and then they lose big to Lyle, and I don't know. I can't figure that out.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Here's an interesting thing. Herscher played Mantino, obviously, this year. It's the first game of the year. So the last game of the year for one of those teams is going to be, and that was at, let's see, that was at Herscher. This time it's at Mantino. So one of those teams is going to knock the other one out.
What was the score?
36-15. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, 36-15. And that was Mantino.
Well, 4A is very interesting. In North and South both, that's just loaded kind of across the board. And that's a real interesting bracket. There's 6 or 7 very quality teams in there. I mean, when you look at Mantino, and Mantino is a 5 seed at 8-1, and almost an afterthought with some of the teams that are in the north half, and Mantino's a really good football team.
Yeah, I mean, the way things went last night, one little fumble here or what. I mean, the game was so back and forth last night that they could easily took the 1 seed, or be close to it or whatever.
And it's weird. I mean, you have Chicago Phillips is at 9-0, Rockford Lutheran is 9-0, Marengo's 9-0. So, I mean, even if Mantino goes 9-0, they probably still get a 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up with the 5. So, wow, that thing is just completely loaded. That and the north half of the 3A bracket is, of course, it always is, because that seems where the strongest teams in the state in 3A tend to end up north, and sometimes it splits. Like this time, St. Joe Ogden goes south, and sometimes they end up north.
Solano and St. Joe Ogden going south. That's going to bolster that south bracket, even though they're from the central part of the state.
So if you're just checking in, you're wondering what happened to Wilmington. They get the number 1 seed in 3A, and they get number 16 Peoria Heights, who's 5-4. They got in based on a forfeit the last game of the year. Their first playoff appearance since 2003 for Peoria Heights, and they've only been in the playoffs 5 times in the entire existence of their school, and they get Wilmington. Wilmington would get the winner of Byron and Lyle, and the way that works is Wilmington will host, obviously, week 1. If Byron were to beat Lyle, Wilmington would then host Byron in the second round of the playoffs. If Lyle beats Byron, then Wilmington would go on the road, albeit not a really bad road trip to go up to Lyle and Benedictine.
Yeah, but the problem is are you going to play a Benedictine? or is Benedict because
Saturday.
Is there a
it's-
game?
Yeah.
right. What's going on in other schools? use
That's a
that
really
field.
good point.
Well, that
And
could be a Friday night
You
game.
could be playing at Lyle's Middle School, isn't it? Their middle
No,
school
they won't
or
play there.
whatever?
They won't play there.
You say
They'll
that
do
now.
they do a Friday night game. Is what they would probably do.
Well,
That's
that's
what
if
I'm
there's
thinking.
not a soccer game going on there.
Well,
That's the thing. That's the problem. You get into the play-
soccer.
exactly.
You had to bring soccer
You
into the
got
whole
soccer, lacrosse, and all these other sports
lacrosse.
that these schools with cement ponds have. Remember this?
Next thing you're going to bring polo into the thing.
But also up in that north half, Bishop McNamara with a 5 seed up north. Man, getting a 5 seed, that's
Dude,
really.
this is their prediction. They predict Bloomington Central Catholic over Bishop Mac.
And wait, what is?
I don't know. Oh, it's this Zach.
What are we predicting?
This is their prediction.
Oh, for the state championship?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this guy's predictions.
Rockridge in the state championship in 2A, huh? Okay. Well, if that's
And Rockford Lutheran over Rochester.
That means
All right.
Phillips is out in 4A, huh?
yeah,
According to him.
I guess that's gone. Huh. Well, that's interesting. That's the. How in the world can you already? Well, I
Well,
guess
they did that last year, and they
Roll the
had
dice
us
and-
losing to
Right.
What was it, Williamsville, or was it? I don't remember, but they did have us. So one of the people making the prediction had us going to the state championship but losing, and it might have been to Williamsville.
Wow,
Yeah,
that
I
would be an
remember.
awfully accurate prediction.
Well, not accurate.
Well, I mean, getting
lucky.
getting the teams there would be.
Yeah, right.
What's the chances that you're going to predict the two teams that get there in any one of these?
Oh, here's someone else's.
Wilmington
over St. Joseph Ogden.
Well, I mean, come on. You don't talk about not going out on a limb. Let's see. Can we take the 1 seeds everywhere and just go with that, please?
Right.
Yeah, that's
I have
not
no clue what I'm
really.
doing. That's it. I'm reading his lips because the volume's turned on loud. He kind of shook his head.
Hey, he went crazy and picked a 4 seed in the South,
Right.
though. That's interesting.
Yeah, I was just seeing if anybody else, like Mr. Rodewald here, had his pick.
Did we only get 2 of them?
Maybe we missed the other ones. We were
Or maybe
trying to do a radio show.
Well, yeah, and they might use the other 2 for the 5 through 8A or something too, and split it up. But in any case, once again, Wilmington gets Peoria Heights, who none of us know anything about, other than the fact that they have almost never been in the playoffs. They're 5-4. Their last win came on a forfeit, and yeah, that's about it. They've only played 4 winning teams this year, and only one team they've played has had more than 5 wins. And that was Rushville, who they lost to by a couple of touchdowns. So,
And we will get the time as soon as we can. I know we have people working on seeing if when the coaches find out a time, we'll get the time. We'll post it on the Catbacker Facebook page. It'll be Twittered out. It'll be on John's page.
Oh, yeah.
And if you call
We'll have
Terry's
it everywhere.
house, it'll
be on his
Terry's house.
answering machine.
Yeah, it'll be everywhere, and we'll have. Oh, by the way,
It might be on Terry's answering machine already. Maybe we should call it.
Right.
a little side note here: if it's a Friday game, Dennis, you will be thrown into the mix.
All right.
Because I will not be here. If it's a Saturday afternoon, evening, whatever it is, I'll be back for that. But I will not be here Friday. So I'm kind of hoping it gets moved into Halloween. But I know a lot of people
problem
don't.
is it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and it probably won't. But no matter what, we'll have the game for you, and we'll get things going, whether it be Friday night or Saturday, and then.
You never know, though. Didn't St. Joe Ogden come up on a Friday night last year?
Yeah, they came up. Peoria's
So-
what, a 2.5-hour drive?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
Not
no different than
outrageously.
it's no different than driving to Westmont. So
yeah. Oh my goodness, Westmont, school I can never find.
I find it, but it takes me to some factory on the backside. I can see the field from here.
It's the spaceship in the middle of the
Right.
neighborhood.
drive around in circles to eventually find it. So we're getting ready for 5A brackets. We've gotten 1A through 4A, and we'll have the 5A here in just a moment. We have the four biggest here.
Back in 3A here. Where am I at? Oh, 3A, yeah. Elmhurst, back at the Conception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When was the last time they were in the playoffs?
They've been dropped to 2A, I think.
Were they in last year?
What does it say?
There was a period of time where they didn't make the playoffs.
What is it? What is
Oh,
it?
I'm not real sure about that.
5A.
All right, so we have Westinghouse getting a 1 seed. That's interesting against Glenbard South. Westinghouse only at 8-1. We got Tinley Park and Peyton, 8-9 seed. Chicago King and DuSable at 4-13. Number 5, St. Lawrence against number 12, Rich Central. Number 2, Lindblom will go up in 15, Solario. Who in the world is that? Number 7, Nazareth will get number 10, Sycamore. Let's see. Number 3, Joliet Catholic with a 3 seed will play 14, Vernon Hills. Number 6, Woodstock Marion will play number 11, Belvedere. So a few teams in there that we're more than familiar with. In the South, number 1 seed will go to Washington. They will take on number 16, Limestone. Number 8, Metamora will face number 9, Sterling. Number 4, Champaign Central will play 13, Jacksonville. Number 5, Highland will get number 12, Decatur Eisenhower. And then the last part of this 5A bracket coming up here momentarily. Somebody's gotten distracted talking about the. Oh, there you go. It's the whole live feed of somebody in the south half of the bracket. So that's Champaign Central. All right, so then we get 2 seed Triad. We'll play 15 Mattoon. Number 7, Lincoln Way West goes south. Well, that's interesting. Against number 10, Dunlap. Number 3, Peoria Central will get 14, Normal Community. Number 6, Centralia will play number 11, Marion. Boy, Lincoln Way West going south? Oh, I guess that is the end of the 5A brackets. Lincoln Way West, that's not very far from here. That's only about 15, 20 minutes from here. And
yeah, I just lost mine too, Ter. I was trying to pull up the brackets too. They must be messing up something.
So they get pushed south, and no 9-0 teams in the north half of the 5A bracket. Am I correct on that?
No, there was none. And I'm going to look at the map here, and
I think it was Westinghouse. Westinghouse got an 8-1, got a number 1 seed.
So you see the cluster, and then they had to zoom in as far as they can, and Joliet almost went south if it wasn't for Lincoln Way.
Well, that's crazy. Lincoln Way West is literally one blue dot in the middle of a sea of red. Yeah. It just went, you're going south.
Yeah, you could easily take in one of the further east teams because they went up north and took Sterling that was further north than all the other teams. Yeah. If you look at it, you see Sterling over here. So that's just a little different. So,
yeah, that's very interesting. Well, anytime you get a team from New Lenox that goes to the south half of the state, that seems rather interesting. But it actually might be. I don't know. It just depends. Could be better off for Lincoln Way West. So West has had a pretty good year. That team has been very solid. So. They will be in the south half of the 5A bracket. Joliet Catholic going in the north half of the 5A bracket. Joliet Catholic, a 3 seed at 8-1, getting number 14, Vernon Hills. All right, I'll just run through this entire 5A bracket here with the seeding. Yeah, this state, the map breakdown that's crazy. All right, so. Number 1, Westinghouse out of Chicago at 8-1 will get number 16, Glenbard South from Glen Ellen. They're 5-4. Tinley Park High School at 7-2, and an 8 seed will play number 9 seed Chicago Peyton. They are also 7-2. Number 4, Chicago King at 7-2 will play number 13 Chicago DuSable at 6-3. Number 5, Burbank St. Lawrence at 7-2 will play number 12 Olympia Fields. Actually, that's Rich Central. Number 2 seed Lindblom out of Chicago at 8-1 will get number 15. Oh, that's why it's Solario Academy out of Chicago. I'm like, if Solario is a town, I certainly have never heard of it. Solario Academy at 5-4. Number 7 Nazareth Academy out of LaGrange Park at 7-2 will get number 10 Sycamore High School there at 6-3. As we just said, number 3 Joliet Catholic at 8-1 will get 14 Vernon Hills at 6-3. Number 6, Woodstock Marion at 7-2 will take number 11, Belvedere High School at 6-3. And the South half, number 1 seed goes to Washington at 9-0. They will get Limestone from Bartonville at 5-4. They are a 16 seed. Number 8, Metamora at 7-2 will get number 9 seed Sterling High School at 7-2. Number 4, Champaign Central. They are 8-1. Will take on number 13, Jacksonville. They are 6-3. Number 5, Highland at 8-1 gets number 12, Eisenhower out of Decatur. They are 6-3. Number 2, Triad out of Troy at 8-1 will get Mattoon at 5-4. They are a 15 seed. Number 7 seed, and we just talked about this, Lincoln Way West out of New Lenox at 7-2 will get number 10, Dunlap at 6-3. Number 3, Peoria High School at 8-1 will play number 14, Normal University at 6-3. And number 6, Centralia High School at 8-1 will take on number 11, Marion High School at 6-3. So Lincoln Way West goes south, and we get Westinghouse getting a 1 seed up north at 8-1. There's not one undefeated team in all of the north half. And St. Lawrence from Burbank, wasn't that the team that just beat Bishop Mack?
Yes. So.
Last week or this week or one of those. So St. Lawrence at 7-2. I think that's Bishop Mack's only loss. I think. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head, but I think that's how that whole thing broke down. Yeah, if you look at the 5A map, Lincoln Way West is literally in the middle of all the red teams, and they just took one and made them go south. And then Sterling is way up north too, and they get stuck going south. So, yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, Bishop Mack's 8-1. So
Yeah.
it must have been.
Yeah, St. Lawrence would be their only loss, and St. Lawrence is a 5 seed in 5A at 7-2. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, 70-40.
Did you say 70-40?
Yep.
Well, that's interesting. We're talking about a lot of scoring.
Yeah, they had St. Lawrence had another game 63-24 against Aurora Christian.
Yeah.
And then what
was that, Dennis?
Nothing. I didn't say anything. And then they had another game 72-14.
Thank goodness there's no video.
72 against Chicago Vocational. Now I look at these schools in this bracket, and there are a lot of Chicago schools, and I guess it's hard for me to tell which ones of what schools. I guess all the ones with Chicago in front of them would be part of the public league.
No.
Solario
There's
Academy wouldn't be.
No, they wouldn't. There's 4 divisions in the Chicago Public League that do the. It's the Chicago. What the heck was it? I have to look it up.
I know Chicago King is public league.
Yeah. But there's only 4 divisions or 4 conferences in that division.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's a division. It's the 4 conferences make up that one
Yeah,
division.
yeah.
And they're the ones that said you're only taking our top 2 teams from each conference.
Yeah, because overall it's usually so bad that even if you get, like in the past, you'd get a team that was 5-4 and they'd get in and they, would lose 78-3 or something. And it just wasn't really, there wasn't a whole lot of point in continuing that.
The Chicago Big Shoulders, Great Lakes, Second City, and Windy City. Those are the 4 conferences that make up that division.
Yeah, and that's a whole. I mean, there's some really good teams there too, but there's also a rather large segment that are just not at the same level as the rest of the state. And that's been one of the reasons over the years that the public league championship has always been a big deal in Chicago. And then they go play at a Soldier Field and all that. That's one of the reasons. I mean, they view it that more as just as important as getting a state championship because you win that, and that's bragging rights and that whole thing.
There's a championship of the state of Chicago, I think, as well.
Right, exactly. The state
Nice.
championships. We haven't talked about this either, and Terry bringing up a good point that the state championship this year is up at NIU.
NIU, that's right.
Yeah,
In
up in
DeKalb.
DeKalb, yep.
So
Up in
it's not at U of I this year. They flip flop. Is that every year going forward, or just
I
for a
think
certain length of time?
I think it's
thought
for a
it's
certain length of time.
It's a 5-year contract.
Yeah, they get
right?
contracts is what it is, just the way it works out. So, but from what I've heard, they've gotten some of the negative feedback about NIU just because it's so far north in the state.
Oh yeah, for the teams
southern
down
schools.
south,
For your
yeah.
smaller schools, to the travel time, because now you're definitely talking schools that would normally, maybe just drive up for the day and drive back. Now they have to get at least 1 or 2 nights hotel stay.
Right.
And it's
Right.
just
The schools like DuQuoin's and Mount Carmel. I don't know Mount Carmel didn't make the playoffs, but those schools down there, Harrisburg's and those guys.
I never minded it being at Illinois State, for that matter. All right, so Class 6A, number 1, Montini at 9-0 gets number 16, Wakanda. Caneland, an 8 seed, gets number 9, Belvedere North. Kenwood at number 4 will go up against number 13, Deerfield. And DeKalb, the number 5 seed, will get number 12, Hampshire. Prairie Ridge at a 2 will go up against number 15, Crystal Lake South. Lake Forest, 7 seed, will take on Lakes. Number 3, Riverside Brookfield, right up there by the zoo. We'll take on number 14, St. Ignatius. We have Grace Lake North at number 6. We'll get 11, Hubbard. And then we get the south half. Lincoln Way North is number 1 in the south. That's interesting. Champaign Centennial will be a 16 seed. Let's see what the rest of this is. Morgan Park. Boy, there's some teams way up north. Morgan Park at 8 will get number 9, Richards. Number 4, Thornton will get number 13, Hinsdale South. They might as well just said North and North 2 because there's not really. Number 5, Oak Forest will take on 12, Quincy. That's the second team that's even located south of the suburbs.
of I-80.
Sacred Heart
Well,
Griffin.
there's Sacred Heart Griffin.
A 2
Springfield.
seed gets 16 or 15, Shepherd. There's Peoria Notre Dame.
Yeah.
A 7 seed getting Normal West, who is 10. Lamont at a 3 seed will play 14, Glenwood. Number 6, Crete Monee will take on number 11, Rock Island. So we got like 4 teams that are south of Chicago that end up. Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting.
That's a 1 through 32 bracket in the
Right.
weighting right there.
Yeah.
So we have 7.
Why they don't do that, I don't know.
We
I
only
don't
have
understand
7 teams that aren't in the Chicago metro area.
Yeah.
That are in that bracket.
Mhm.
That's
What I thought was weird is Hampshire. They're 6A already. Didn't we play them just like 10 years ago?
Something like that. I don't remember, but yeah. There's a school that's enrollment's going up.
well, and that's going to be. I mean, Crete Monee at a 6 seed. That's going to be a tough. There's some interesting names going about in that 6A bracket, and of course, a lot of schools from the area here. Once again, let's just quickly run down through the brackets and do this thing in its entirety for 6A. Number 1, Montini out of Lombard at 9-0 will take on number 16, Wakanda at 5-4. Maple Park from Caneland at 6-3. They will get an 8 seed and they will take on number 9, Belvedere North at 6-3. Number 4, Chicago Kenwood at 7-2 against number 13, Deerfield High School at 6-3. DeKalb, home of the Barbs, number 5 seed at 7-2. They'll get number 12, Hampshire at 6-3. Number 2, Crystal Lake Prairie Ridge at 8-1 will take on number 15, Crystal Lake South. They are 5-4 this year. Number 7, Lake Forest High School at 6-3 will take on number 10, Lake Villa or Lakes at 6-3. Number 3, Riverside Brookfield at 8-1 will go up against number 14, St. Ignatius College Prep out of Chicago at 5-4. Number 6, Grace Lake North at 6-3 will take on number 11, Chicago Hubbard at 6-3. In the south portion, and the south in air quotes, Number 1, Lincoln Way North out of Frankfort at 9-0 will take on Champaign Centennial, a number 16 seed at 5-4. Morgan Park out of Chicago at 7-2, and a number 8 seed will play number 9 Richards out of Oak Lawn. They are 6-3. Number 4, Thornton out of Harvey at 8-1 will take on number 13 Hinsdale South out of Darien. They're at 6-3. Number 5, Oak Forest at 8-1 will play number 12 Quincy Senior at 6-3. Number 2, Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin at 9-0 will get Shepherd out of Palos Heights. They are a number 15 seed and 5-4. Notre Dame out of Peoria at 7-2 will get a number 7 seed. They will go up against number 10 seed Normal Community West at 6-3. Lamont High School will get a 3 seed at 8-1. They will take on number 14 Chatham Glenwood. They are 5-4. And finally, number 6 Crete Momi at 7-2 will take on number 11 Rock Island High School, and they are at 6-3. The Rock Island Fighting Rocks.
Fighting Rocks.
Which is a very interesting. There's a bunch of nicknames in this state that make me shake my head.
A couple things to note in the 6A, John, is Montini had the success adjustment applied to them this year, so they were moved up to 6A. And also Springfield Sacred Heart Griffith was also
I was going to say, I thought Montini was 5A in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
They were assessed the success adjustment.
So in other words, you won, you're penalized.
You're going up, yeah. And then in 7A, East St. Louis volunteered to go to 7A. They're playing up.
Really?
They wanted to play up. They elected to play up to 7A.
Whatever.
Year,
So you have, just looking at the team info, Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin, they outscored their opponents by on average of 42.8 points.
That's the average winning margin?
Difference, yeah, the difference, yeah.
I think Rockford Lutheran needs to play them.
Now that's, let's see, who do they get? Let's see, where are they at in this list? Shepherd out of Palos Heights. Oof, that could be a long.
They played Lincoln, who's an 0-9 team. They beat them 70-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What was the one?
Rochester. They played Rochester this year. They beat them 53-34. I know because doesn't the father do Sacred Heart Griffin and the son is Rochester?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What was it? What was the one we were talking about before we started this whole thing? It was like 98 to.
That was Rockford Lutheran.
Rockford Lutheran.
They beat Dixon, who they're playing the first game, 95-28.
That's it's just ridiculous.
It's insane.
I don't know. I mean, that's just.
And they had one kid that did everything.
53 on average, 53.7 points.
That's Rockford Lutheran.
Yeah, they get on average 8.9 points against and 62.6 points for.
Wow, that's that's beyond crazy. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you leave in starters and just keep going the entire night. But at some point, you got to ask you, what are you really accomplishing? But I mean, I don't.
Well, it's all fine and good until you get one of your starters hurt.
Yeah. Well, while they're going through 6A, let's go back and touch up on 3A again while we're waiting for 7 and 8A to come out. Again, Wilmington gets a 1 seed in 3A. They take on 16 Peoria Heights, for those of you who might just be checking in to see what's going on. Peoria Heights has not made the playoffs since 2003. This is only their 5th time of making the playoffs, and they're getting in at 5-4 based on a forfeit for their last win of the year. That's who Wilmington plays. Now, if you're looking ahead to the second round, which I think you're relatively safe in doing so, although don't tell anybody from the coaching staff that, but I think you're at least safe looking ahead to week 2 at this point. Byron at 7-2 will take on Lyle at 7-2. The way this works again, if Wilmington wins and Byron wins, Wilmington would host Byron. And then if Wilmington wins and Lyle wins, Wilmington would go on the road up there to Lyle and take on the Lions up north. Now, the bottom part of that initial bracket has Sterling Newman Central Catholic getting Farmington, and then right below that is Bishop McNamara from Kankakee going up against Aledo Mercer County. So immediately you look at Bishop McNamara and Sterling Newman matching up in that second round, and then whoever Wilmington gets in that second round too will be interesting.
It'll be interesting. And if you even take that to the third round, actually Wilmington, we would be better off going to Lisle. That means we would be at home against either Sterling Newman or McNamara, who I'm assuming is going to play in that second round. So, I mean, in actuality, playing up at Lisle, of course, you got to win the first game. You got to win that second game. But playing up at Lisle would be semi-beneficial.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, the way Lyle's playing right now, that is a very strong possibility that they go take on Byron. Because I mean, we've all seen those teams, Byron and Winnebago and all that group out there, and it's very similar. Big kids, they line up, they run the football a lot. There's not a lot of crazy things going on. You either stop them or you don't, and I think that really feeds into what Lisle does well. They have a big line, and they've kept the scores low in a lot of their games this year, and their defense has been very good. So it would not surprise me at all if Lisle goes up there and gets a win. And you're right, that would actually be beneficial if you could then get past Lisle. Then that next week, you get Bishop McNamara or Sterling Newman at home, and all of a sudden that game then looks much better than having to hit the road.
Either one of those places.
I don't know if you've ever been to Bishop McNamara in Kankakee.
No.
But that I haven't been there in a few years now, but that used to be really dark and boy, that was a weird place.
I don't think it's changed a whole lot.
Yeah, I can't imagine it has. But that's still just the part of the bracket that Wilmington's in. Now, other teams in the north half, Elmhurst Immaculate Conception gets a 3 seed in the north half of the bracket. Chicago Raby and Chicago Clark play each other, and then Princeton gets a 2 seed at 9-0. That's all in the north. The thing that really helped Wilmington was they pushed St. Joseph Ogden to the south, and St. Joseph Ogden gets a 1 seed in the south at 9-0. Paxton Buckley Loda's down there too at 8-1. Bloomington Central Catholic at 8-1. They're all in the same portion of the bracket. And then Tolono Unity is pushed all the way down with Monticello in that bottom part, and then Newton also at 9-0, along with Verdon North Mac, who's also undefeated. All those teams are down south. So that's just kind of a brief look at how 3A breaks down in case you're just joining us and wondering who Wilmington's playing and kind of how that's all going to shake out. Wilmington most likely will get the winner of Lisle and Byron. Should Wilmington win round one, and you never want to just assume things, but right now that looks like a pretty good possibility. And then if they get past Lisle or Byron, you'd get the winner of Sterling Newman and Bishop Mack if all in out.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, Dennis, but that second round game against Sterling Newman and Mack is real enticing if we have opportunity to go. It might be a fun game to
that's
go to.
Going to be that's a showdown.
Yeah, it would be a good game.
Good game to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the playoffs. It's always a good game.
Yeah, not always.
Well, I'm not saying first round games per se. I mean, the Lisle Byron game, first round would be a good one.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, that'll be a good matchup.
Be,
That's two very similar teams too.
Yes.
In style. So that'll be. While we're doing that too, a quick look at 4A, because that's where kind of the rest of the I-8 teams ended up. We have, let's see, Herscher and Mantino being a matchup in first round. 4A, Mantino 8-1, Herscher at 6-3. The winner of that will probably get Geneseo, although Wheaton Academy is no slouch either. Coal City is also in the top half of that. That's going to be rough. They get Marengo, who's undefeated in the first round, a 15-2 matchup there. And then Plano, depending on which Plano actually shows up, they get Ridgewood out of Norridge in the first round. That's a 7-10 matchup. Rockford Lutheran, however, is in that same portion of the bracket. Chicago Phillips is in the north portion of that bracket. Pontiac and Johnsburg are both 7-2 in that. So, boy, you just look through 4A and you're like, well, there's a team that can win it. There's a team that can win, and you just keep doing that. So that's going to be a tough bracket.
Yeah, there's just like I said, that from everything I've heard, Phillips and Rockford Lutheran are going to be the two teams that, unfortunately, they both went north. But they said that last year too. They said Phillips and I think Rockford Lutheran even last year they said the same thing, and then they go and state championship and end up losing. But it's
and you never. The thing that you can never predict with the playoffs, number one, is weather. Because when you're in November, it could be freezing cold. It could be 60 degrees. You might have snow, rain, wind. You could get anything, and that drastically affects something. And then number two, you can't predict injuries and what's going to happen going forward. If somebody loses a key player or whatever, then that could completely shift everything around. Of course, anything can happen. I mean, typically, if you're saying everything stays, the same, then we end up with something that should be relatively easy to predict, but you never know. All right, here we go. Class 7A. We're getting down toward the end of everything. Glenbard West gets a 1 seed. They'll go up against Moline. So now we're at 132. So this is 132. So a true seeding here. Chicago Mount Carmel at 16 will get 17 Glenbard North. Rivas at an 8 seed will go up against number 25 Rolling Meadows.
And we're looking at Rivas. They must like their
what's interesting?
Draw.
What's interesting is none of them are. Well, I don't know if these are live look-ins or not, if it's something pre-recorded, but none of them are watching the pairings. They're all watching college football. I found that interesting. Texas Tech was on one of them. Rockford, Auburn, and what was that? Honolulu or something like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Batavia gets a 4 seed going up against number 29 Pekin. It's just weird seeing 429 matchups. 13 Lincoln Park will get number 20 Chicago Simeon. There's a public league school. Number 5 Cary Grove against 28 Belleville West. This is all 7A. This is the top portion of the bracket. Number 12, Bennett Academy will get 21, St. Charles North. Number 2, Young, I believe that's also a Chicago institution, goes up against number 31, Niles North. Number 15 seed, Blue Island, goes up against number 18, Harlem. This is now the bottom half of 7A. Number 7, Geneva will get number 26, Oswego East. Number 10, Glenbrook North will go up against number 23, Bradley Bourbonnais. So another basically local school. Number 3, Libertyville will play number 30, Downers Grove North. Number 14, Lincoln Way East gets in against number 19, Jacobs. Number 9, Normal Community will go up against number 27 seed, Schaumburg. Number 11, Maine South will get 22 seed, Plainfield North. So some interesting things in there as well. And the Lincoln Way schools, again, very strong. Lincoln Way West, Lincoln Way North, Lincoln Way East, all getting in. Lincoln Way Central has been pretty awful this year, but
and then the one that's closed didn't get in for some reason.
Right.
Sue's predicted that
one. But 3 for 4, too bad for the Lincoln Way schools. And Plainfield, out of all the Plainfield schools, Plainfield North.
Well, you only have one school. I mean, you got Normal and Pekin, but you only have one, the Bellevue or whatever. That's all the way
way in south.
Yeah,
pretty much everyone's in the north.
Yeah.
Which is again why they don't go north south. They just do
1 through 32.
1 through 32, which makes a lot more sense. So, so that last one there that we're going through, Rockford Auburn plays Hananega.
Bless you.
Out of Rockton. You ever heard of Hananega?
Hanaga. It's probably an Indian word.
I have no. I thought I knew most of the big schools in the state. I definitely have never heard of that.
Well, let's look up some info on.
Why not? Might as well learn something here. Mount Carmel in there. That's a perennial powerhouse. We've got. Is it their whole name? Let's see. Yeah, they're from. It's Rockton. So
yeah, Rockton.
Rockton's the town. Bennett Academy out of Lisle. So Lisle gets both teams in, both the private school and public school get in from Lisle. Bradley Bourbonnais gets Glenbrook North. Bradley Bourbonnais with a 23 seed. That's still kind of odd.
And what are they, 7 or 6 and 3, or I'm trying to find those. Oh yeah, 6 and 3.
It just makes you sound like you're so bad when you get the 30 seed.
Right? Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
All right, 29 seed. Well, it makes. I mean, personally, I like that. The true seeding I tend to like more than anything else, to really get a because if you're a 1 seed, if you're the overall number 1 seed, you should get to play the worst team in that of the group. I mean, that tends to make sense. I'm trying to glance through here and see if anything else particularly jumps out at me, although it doesn't at the moment. All of the Lincoln Way teams are just all of them in. Yeah, that isn't the map breakdown. You got I think it's Bellevue all the way down to the south, and you have one team from Pekin, one team from Bloomington normal, and then Moline way out there in the west, and that's it. So 28, 29 teams in the pretty much Chicago metro area.
You have Chicago Mount Carmel with their 30th consecutive playoff appearance.
Wow, that's
you have
unbelievable.
Other teams with Normal at 20, Park Ridge, Maine South at 24. I mean, Chicago Mount Carmel has 12 state championships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's incredible.
They're up there with JCA.
Yeah, Maine South at 5. Some 1s and 2s in there.
I'm telling you, Maine South over the last 10, 15 years has been a really good program. Mm-hmm. They just continually, their offense has been ridiculous.
So another ridiculous playoff stat. In the playoffs, Chicago Mount Carmel is 108-19.
Wow, that's their playoff record? Wow. I mean, that's really impressive. 108-19?
Yeah, 108-19.
Hey, did you ever find Hana Nega or whatever it was?
Yeah. They were what?
Rockton?
Yeah. This is their 9th consecutive appearance.
What?
Yeah. They're 18.
I don't remember ever seeing them.
18 and 26 overall. And probably because they always referred to them as Rockton. There was never
the Hana Nega thing.
Yeah, it
okay.
must be new. And they've got one runner-up trophy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they've been in the playoffs 27 total times. This is their 9th consecutive time. I'm disappointed, John.
That I don't know who Hananega is. But yeah, if they've always been referring to him as Rockton, that would kind of tilt things in the favor of not knowing who they are. Once again, if you're just popping on here and wondering what happened to Wilmington and the other I-8 teams, Wilmington in 3A gets a number 1 seed. They'll go up against number 16 Peoria Heights. The winner of that game gets the winner of Lisle and Byron. Byron an 8 seed, Lisle a 9 seed, and then the other part of that particular bracket, Sterling Newman Central Catholic will play Farmington. The winner of that gets the winner of Kankakee Bishop McNamara and Aledo Mercer County. So that's kind of, if Wilmington wins, they would get either Byron or Lisle. If they were to win that game, they would either get Sterling Newman or Bishop McNamara. I mean, I'm just kind of jumping to the conclusion that both of those teams are going to win. I don't think that's we're not going out on a limb here saying that they'll probably win that. The other teams in the north half, Elmhurst Immaculate Conception is up there. Princeton's undefeated. They're in the north half, and Chicago Clark and Chicago Raby also go in the north. The team that went south to help Wilmington was St. Joseph Ogden, who's undefeated. Paxton Buckley Loda also down there at 8-1. Monticello, a team Wilmington has seen, is 8-1. Tolono Unity, another team we know a lot about, at 6-3. And then, of course, Williamsville back in the playoffs again this year at 5-4. And 4A playoff summary. Okay. So in 4A, just briefly here for the bracket-wise, Chicago Phillips gets the number 1 seed in the north half. Let's see. Mantino and Herscher out of the I-8 play each other in the first round. The winner of that would get Geneseo and Wheaton Academy. Also, Pontiac goes in the north half. They'll take on Johnsburg. Coal City out of the I-8 at 5-4 gets undefeated Marengo. Plano also in the north half at 7-2, getting Ridgewood out of Norridge. That's all the north half.
So if Coal City can get past Marengo and Plano wins, you got another I-8 matchup there in the second round, it looks like.
So we have, 8A brackets are out, and then we'll come back to this playoff summary in a minute. Loyola at 9-0 will get 32 seed West Aurora. Yeah, that does sound pretty bad. 132. 16 Stevenson will get number 17 Conant. We are at now the Class 8A bracket. It's the last one of the night. Homewood Flossmoor at 8 will get 25 O'Fallon. Fallon getting in at 5-4. And New Trier, a 9 seed, will get 24 Lions. Once again, continuing in the top bracket, number 4, Oak Park River Forest will take on number 29 seed Fremd out of Palatine. Number 13, Palatine gets number 20 Sandburg. That's an interesting matchup if Palatine Fremd can pull off an upset. Brother Rice at a 5 seed will get 28 Bartlett, and number 12 South Elgin will get 21 seed Evanston up there where Northwestern is. So that is the top part of the 8A bracket. Now the bottom part. Number 2 Huntley will get number 31 Manuka. Manuka getting in at 5-4. I completely forgot about them being playoff eligible. Number 15 Oswego gets number 18 Belleville East. Number 7 Barrington will get number 26 Plainfield South, who also manages to get it at 5-4. Number 10 Notre Dame out of Niles will get number 23 Marist. Number 3 Edwardsville, who is undefeated, will get number 30 Wabansie Valley, barely getting in at 5-4. Number 14 Hinsdale Central gets number 19 Neuqua Valley. Number 6 Naperville Central will get number 27 Bolingbrook, who's at 5-4. Bolingbrook's had a nice run over the last few years, but not quite as many wins this year. In the last matchup of the night, Curie at number 11 seed will get number 22 Gurnee Warren. And that is the 8A portion of the bracket. And interesting tonight, we've now seen 1A through 8A, and we've seen a little bit of everything tonight. First of all, the 1 through 32, first time we've seen that in 7 and 8A, which makes sense. Everything else tonight is 1 through 16, north, south,
East, west.
And yeah, or
kind of
pretty much. But it is interesting to see that they're kind of going towards something that I think all of us would say makes a little bit more sense than just kind of randomly coming up with quads and all this other stuff. At least now it seems like we're getting somewhere legitimate. Okay, let's see. The 4A playoff summary. So as far as playoff appearances go, Coal City with 26 playoff appearances, 5 consecutive, and they have a 32-24 record overall in the playoffs. Herscher, by the way, has been in the playoffs 19 times, 2 years in a row. They have a 15-18 record in the playoffs, and they've come in second once. Coal City has also come in second once. Of course, they have a state championship too. Manteno has been in 6 times and 6 consecutive playoff appearances, and they have a total record of 3-5 on the year. Let's see. Interesting. Coal City at 5-4 has faced 4 playoff teams this year. Herscher is 6-3, and they've faced 3 playoff teams. Manteno at 8-1 has faced 4, and Plano at 7-2 has gone up against 3 different opponents who have made the playoffs this year. So, good little breakdown of I-8 and kind of how everything goes here. The I-8 has started to churn out some programs that are really getting teams in year after year. Manteno has turned into that. Yeah, that's a really odd. 8A's map has 3 teams in Springfield, or well, right to the edge of Springfield, and then.
Oh no, those are like.
Or is that
that's like St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah, that's what I was thinking. St. Louis, and I was saying Springfield. 3 teams in St. Louis, and then 29 in Chicago. Can you imagine that travel? Okay, opening round, you're going to drive 3.5 hours.
Well, at least it's. I guess not. At first, I thought they had the seeds next to them, but I guess they don't. I was going to say 9, 5, and 6, but those aren't the seeds because there's 9, 5s, and 6s all over this map.
Yeah, it's going to be like Wabansie Valley has to drive 3.5 hours to play their first round game against Edwardsville. So that's interesting. Boy, some of those teams, you match up with one of those, you would be not too pleased, I would guess. Trying to see who else is on that. Where's O'Fallon fall in this thing?
Yeah, you were talking about Bolingbrook. They've had 24 consecutive playoff appearances. They've made it 28 total times. They are 34-26 in the playoffs, and they have 1 first place and 1 second place.
Okay. Well, we've kind of run the gamut here tonight. We've gone 1A through 8A. We've seen 1 through 16 in the first 6 classes, 1 through 32 in 7 and 8. All of the local teams have now been accounted for, including Manuka and Plainfield South in 8A, and then everybody else falling pretty much between 3A and 6A for the most part as far as local schools go. And very interesting. Kankakee gets a couple of teams in this year, and Bradley Bourbonnais at 6-3. Bishop McNamara, very high seed at 8-1. Wilmington's in. Cool City's in. Mantino, which is again right over there by Kankakee. Lincoln Way West, which is just down the street here from Wilmington. Plainfield South, Manuka, Joliet Catholic. A lot of teams from this general area. Really, the one team missing that's there year in, year out is Morris. And
Providence.
Whatever's going, Providence.
Huh?
Providence not in for the first time, and boy, that might be an interesting thing to look at, because I don't know when the last time was that they weren't in the playoffs. But and Morris is kind of that's kind of fallen on a little bit of hard times over there in Redskin country, and maybe they can get something turned around. But for Wilmington, again, number 1 seed, they get Peoria Heights first round, then they get the winner of Byron and Lyle, and then what look a little bit further down, then Sterling Newman and Bishop Mack, kind of the winner of that is what Wilmington would face. So, I mean, the playoffs are never easy, of course. That's why they're the playoffs. But it looks, this particular year looks like it could be very interesting should Wilmington keep going. There are some big matchups through the first 2 or 3 rounds of the playoffs. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever looked at a playoff bracket and said,
this is easy.
We got this. We're gonna blow through these guys.
Right.
But, yeah, it's interesting. Every game is interesting. The matchups, trying to find out, okay, who did they play? Now, especially when you get in the playoffs. Okay, this team played this team, and we played this team, and they played. How did the matchup go?
What's the Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation,
exactly.
where you're going, oh, they played this opponent and we played the opponent that lost to that opponent, and yeah, you end up going,
you drive yourself crazy,
right?
And there are other websites, is it Cal Preps or whatever, that they're purely mathematics. It takes your wins, and it figures who you played and your strength of schedule, and it'll predict the score. And I see people always posting on that, and that thing's never right.
Well, I think for the most part that brings this thing. Boy, it doesn't seem possible that we've gone through 9 weeks of football. We're done with another playoff preview show. The playoffs are about ready to begin, and we're almost in November. Like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Right? And 20 years in a row. 20 years in a row.
Right.
20 years in a row.
Yeah.
Does it seem like it's been 20 years?
20 years, 23 straight wins.
23 straight
As
wins.
of last night, too.
Yeah, this class, they haven't lost a game since they became juniors. They won every game last year. They won every game this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, Coach Reed said they went from being not winning a game. What was it, 8th grade or whatever it was? They didn't win a single game.
I know
and
freshman year, I think they struggled as well.
Yeah, and just not much there. And then all of a sudden, boom, and they just keep winning. The one thing about this team that I like continually every week, they don't always play flawlessly. We know that. The last couple of weeks has been real interesting.
Yes, interesting.
But they just keep coming and keep grinding, getting forward. Don't get too down. Just keep going straight ahead. And in the past, that couldn't always be said about every team, and every team's different. But this one just seems to remain focused, no matter what happens, how everything flies apart. They just keep going.
Just stop fumbling the football.
Oh boy, please.
I said it earlier, and I know if anything, I doubt it. Everybody's lost interest by now, but I think we have more fumbles than passes.
That's
now wait a minute.
That might actually, other than we had the one game where they for Wilmington aired it out a little bit, but other than that,
they aired it out a little bit.
A little.
Well,
I think they threw like seven times.
I think 5. I think.
Yeah,
but I think that's a testament to the Coach Reitz in the program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it. Over the years, kids come in as freshmen and they leave as seniors, and the level of improvement is just tremendous. And that's a testament to Coach Reitz and his coaching staff, which doesn't have a lot of turnover.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of those guys are the same guys that are there, and even some of the guys that aren't on the field coaching are still at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And all these kids go through the high school and see these guys, talk to these guys, even if it's just their teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids know these guys, and I mean, 23 wins in a row. I don't know how. There's not a whole lot of schools that can say that.
No. And the other thing too is each year you go and you look at freshmen or whoever, and you go, boy, in a year or two it could be interesting. Whatever. What are we gonna have? And then it seems like every time though, by the time it gets junior, senior, they end up with somebody that can be plugged in there, and they make the adjustments to get where they need to be. And it's interesting. It just every single year it just seems to keep going. Like the train starts rolling and it doesn't stop, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, it just always seems like someone is there to step up and fill the shoes that were left behind by the graduating class.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just sorry. Jeff was talking.
I'm talking to Terry off mic.
But yeah, there's always someone to step in, and be it a junior, a senior. That's we've even seen some sophomores this year. I know we have at least one starting sophomore lineman. I don't know if there's any other positions. We got a kicker from the soccer team.
Yep.
That he goes and scores 2 goals in a soccer game and kicks 2 field goals and 4 extra points in another game.
Yeah.
So it's
and this year too. I mean, while the seniors are extremely important and they're kind of what drives everything, there's a group of juniors that's there this year that once things have to move on to next year, you feel pretty good about that core nucleus that's going to be back again next year. And it seems like every year we end up with that, where we go, this year's over, but there's a pretty good group of kids that are ready to come up again, and it just keeps going.
It keeps going, yeah.
Yeah.
But I know Dan's. I think Dan's still listening. I don't know if he is, but hopefully Ty's. Looking at Wilmington and some of the injuries. Ty Breimer had an ankle injury, and I talked to Dan today, and of course, this is Dad talking. He seems to think that it's not a huge deal. It's not a high ankle sprain, which is a good thing. So hopefully Ty gets that ankle healthy and gets back. So they're going to need him on defense, and he's also been running the ball, rotating in with.
And last night he did a great job before he got injured.
Right,
coming in as kind of that second back to work off and also there's a couple other ones there. I know Nick Preto is supposed to start practicing this week. So even if you're looking 2 weeks out for Nick, getting him back and getting into some sort of game conditioning and shape. Ben Studer, I know that's kind of a wait and see approach. But maybe again a week or two out here and get a look at him, and if you can kind of. So the positive thing here is we haven't seen anything that said this is it, and they're not.
Right.
There's no chance they're coming back. Everything kind of the door is left open here, with a little bit of a timetable to get some of those guys back. And I mean, if you can get through the first week of the playoffs, which I think what's there should be enough to do it. Should they play up to their capability? I mean, start that second week and on, start adding some guys, then I think your chances just keep going up and up to advance after that. But some of these guys, I mean, James Cox playing center for Ben Studer has done a phenomenal job filling in there. I mean, Dustin Kelly coming in last night for Breimer and getting thrown in a crazy mix of playing defensive back and doing that job.
I know I was talking earlier. I said struggled a little bit right when he got in, but then it seemed like after a few plays, he got a feel for the field. So if he's got to play this week, he's going to have a week of practice under his belt starting at that position, not just coming in and maybe taking a rep here or there, but he'll be starting practice, be practicing at that position. So it should help out a lot.
And that too goes back the conversation we were having before about getting kids the opportunity to play and play meaningful reps in games. That's what helps you going forward. And you look at some of these programs who, aren't playing guys, or even if they're losing, aren't playing other guys. You have to keep the kids involved and wanting to keep playing every week. And not only that, but you get them. Varsity time is different from fresh soft playing time.
I'd sneeze there and say Westmont, but I'll just say Westmont. That's just a program that, for me, I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can't field any teams below a varsity team, and how you expect to even compete with anybody.
And how do you stay motivated? If you're a kid in that program that's not starting, what motivates you to go through all of that all year and sit there?
You could even consider going out for football this year,
to me, I shake my head at that too, because it's, I don't know. It goes both ways too. Teams that are losing by a lot or teams that are winning by a lot, and you keep leaving starters in to get injured or whatever, and you need those kids to get experience and at least build some sort of confidence. So going forward, you can depend on them to keep wanting to play. And I don't know. It's that whole thing has been interesting to me for a while. I think somebody just lost a wheel off a chair or something over there.
I think that was my chair. I think Terry.
Lay off the pizza, Jeff.
Well, on that note,
I know there's more over there.
So once again, another playoff preview show in the books. As soon as we know something for a playoff day and time, of course, it'll be everywhere. It'll be on the Catbacker site. It'll be all over Facebook. It'll be on our site as well. We'll have the game for you no matter what. Dennis and my dad will have it for you. If it's on Friday, I'll be back on Saturday, and we'll have everything going forward here. But no matter what, Wilmington's at home next week, and then we just go forward after that and see what happens. And this is the time of year it's always fun and exciting just to kind of go week to week and see what comes.
Yeah, playing new teams. That's what it is for me, is playing somebody we have never played and not getting matched up against another I-8 school first round, or even the past couple of years it seems like we have been matched up with like a St. Joe or a Paxton, or teams that are always right here. So this 1 through 16 does break it up a little bit more for us.
Branches it out a little bit. So the Hawks are still tied 0-0 in the third, huh? Wow. All right, we'll wrap things up here tonight. Thank you to Dennis and Jeff for coming along and doing this whole thing again. Terry, thanks again for allowing us to be out here, and this really turned into a home for the playoff preview show each and every year, and it works out nice.
And hopefully this year we do another show later in the year. Like we did
that was fun.
Yeah,
last
we had a good time doing that.
Got everybody together and had another show out here. That was fun. So for tonight, boy, we're pushing 2 hours on a broadcast. So we'll wrap things up here. This will be up there all week on the website. So if you know somebody who'd like to come back and check it out, it for sure will be there. You just come back and listen to it on demand, and you can kind of get a feel for the entire brackets and how everything breaks down for this week. That'll wrap it up. We'll see you next week. Be sure to check the website or the Catbacker site. Become fan on Facebook of both of our things, and then you'll get whatever we throw up there as far as a game date and time as soon as it comes out. Until then, we will see you next weekend for the first round of the playoffs against Peoria Heights, and we'll wrap things up here tonight. You've been listening to the Wilmington Wildcats Playoff Preview Show on the Christian Internet Sports Network.